A warm welcome to everyone who is joining us today. My name is Tobekile Matimbe. I work for Paradigm Initiative, and I will be your moderator for the day. So I hope you're well, and feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat box. If you feel up to it, please indicate the country where you're checking in from. I am checking in from Rwanda, Kigali at this present moment. So please settle in and relax. Today we are here to discuss fair data future for all. And I am a strong believer of that and looking forward to great insights. We are indeed a big community, and we're looking forward to great insights and engagements. So we will begin as well with a number of speakers, and then at some point we'll open it up for any comments. So once we reach out at that point, feel free to make use of, the function that is available to you to be able to raise your hand, and we'll be able to give you an opportunity to share your insights. We also have sign language interpretation. So if you are given an opportunity to speak, feel free to be comfortable and speak slowly, but feel free to be comfortable, particularly when you're speaking or presenting anything on statistics. Feel free to speak slowly so that our sign language interpreter gets that right. So, okay, so the Data Values Project indeed has been such a collaborative effort, and as you will see with everyone who is here today, and we know that a lot of you joining us today have, participated fully and have played a critical role in driving this Data Values Project. We have over 350 people across 63 countries that have shaped the project to date. And well, this is just the beginning for us, and we're super excited. And I'm excited as well to hear, what we're going to discuss today. So we are also pleased to have you with us, and the team will be sharing lots of ideas. So feel free to take note of how you can actually engage in this project. So the session overview of what we are going to be doing together for this few minutes. First of all, we have an exciting session coming up today where we'll hear a range of speakers, as I've highlighted. So they will be addressing why we need urgently to be able to address unequal data systems. We'll also be able to learn more about the Data Values Manifesto, and how we can engage in creating a fair data future for all. We are also really looking forward to hearing your comments, to hearing from you, and also sharing your contributions from the floor. So like I earlier mentioned, feel free to make use of that function to raise your hand and contribute. Everyone's ideas and inputs will be considered and are considered valuable. So we'll be able to factor this in as well, in the launch of the Data Values campaign, which is coming up soon, later this week on the 22nd of September. So that will be happening on the sidelines as well of the UN General Assembly in New York, and more ideas as well, or more, instructions on that will be shared later on. Okay, having said that, let's talk about a bit more of the logistics. So like I highlighted earlier, we have sign language interpretation. We are also going to be able to have the session recorded. I think it's already being recorded. So please take note that we are live. International sign interpretation, I've mentioned that we have it. Please make sure as well to raise your hand. I know that for some, they might feel they do not want to speak, but also feel free to utilize the chat function and post a question, post a contribution. We value your contributions. And if you're given an opportunity to speak, this is my small request that we keep it short and sweet. We speak for at least 2 minutes so that we allow others to be able to also share their insights and contributions. So yeah, I think that will be it for today. Now we are moving into the opening remarks for the day, and I'm super excited about this. Allow me to introduce to you our speakers for the day. So our first speaker will be Dr. Lockwood from CBM Global, who will be able to take us through a number of remarks, a number of issues, how she views things. And then we'll also have Deepa Kathikian, who happens to be the co-founder of Athena Infonomics, and we'll also be able to hear great insights from her. So to kickstart us for the day, I will start with you, Dr. Lockwood. You are very welcome today. Feel free to start us off by sharing with us why it is you believe that we need to take urgent action to ensure a fair data future for all. So over to you.
Thank you. And thank you to the organizers for inviting me to speak today. We as people must be involved in all data processes to shape how we are represented in data. This is not being done enough. And as a result, there are significant data gaps, particularly for persons with disabilities. And that's the group I'm talking about today. And from this, we have various examples of these gaps and consequences, such as the lack of disability data to monitor the Sustainable Development Goals for persons with disabilities. And we've really seen that recently in the SDG report. The lack of disability data on COVID-19 and the dire effects from this. The lack of data on migrants, IDPs, and refugees with disabilities. And the lack of data on persons with disabilities in emergency settings, among other situations. The lack of data in these situations can have quite dire consequences, as we learned in the COVID-19 pandemic. There are many cases that we've written about, such as persons with disabilities not being allowed to access hospitals or medical settings, and then being rejected. And then we didn't have this data. We still don't have this data to really understand exactly what happened, the gaps, and how we can fix those gaps in the future. So what can we do now to address these significant data gaps? First and foremost, we have to consult and actively involve persons with disabilities and their representative organizations in all decision-making processes related to disability data. This is especially essential since persons with disabilities understand their communities the best and know where their members are. This is especially important in emergencies. And linked to this, we need to recognize and use data from organizations of persons with disabilities and their allies, and citizen-generated data such as this, produced by these organizations, can fill data gaps, such as in the SDGs, we're missing a lot of data, and the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And one way to do this is to include organizations of persons with disabilities in data production from the start to contribute to data gaps and establish more co-creation and co-ownership of data production between OPDs, organizations of persons with disabilities, and national statistical offices. It's also important to build data capacity and stakeholders, including training of enumerators, and also persons with disabilities and their organizations to be better prepared to survey their communities in the future and in future emergencies, which we know we will have more and more. And partnerships are key. It is essential to form multi-stakeholder partnerships to create inclusive data processes. This is bringing together statisticians, policymakers, academics, organizations of persons with disabilities and other marginalized groups, NSOs, NGOs, to exchange information, learn from each other, and create evidence-based policy to create sustainable change. And I will end there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for those great insights. And I'll just pick a few nuggets. The importance of consulting patients with disabilities and decision-making processes is very critical. Being able to also recognize and use data from persons with disabilities and their allies in order to fill the data gaps, that is very critical. Building data capacity as well as forming multi-stakeholder partnerships to be able to drive towards a fair data value system. So thank you so much for those great insights, Dr. Lockwood. And I will turn next to Deepa to also be able to share her insights and take us through why you think we need the data values movement and why now. Yeah, so over to you, Deepa.
Thank you so much, Tobekile. Hello, everyone. My name is Deepa, and it's an absolute honor to be here with you all at such an important, and to be part of such an important conversation. Personally, for me, the data values movement is a very powerful reminder that we're not going to go too far in terms of addressing the data challenges and gaps unless we focus on values. True to this famous quote that values and culture eats strategy for breakfast, we know we're only going to go some distance with policy and regulation that are not backed by a collectively held value system. We know that policies and regulations, while incredibly important, can be co-opted or altered to serve the values and assumptions of those using those tools. So I'd like to use this opportunity to really sort of draw attention to the value aspect of the data values movement and how powerful the data values manifesto is in terms of starting or providing a common reference point for us to all come together and align around. I'd also like to use a personal anecdote from my own experience in terms of how both being part of the data values movement and the conversations around it and the manifesto itself has shaped or changed my own perspective. As an entrepreneur working in the data space, often my work involves working it involves working directly with public service authorities and thinking about ways to strengthen their data systems so that they're able to think and intervene and take action to improve the quality of basic services, particularly for the vulnerable and the marginalized. But now with the data values manifesto as a reference point, when I think about my own work, I realize I've missed two critical things. I've, number one, missed thinking about whether the ideas and actions that I'm implementing are consistent with the value systems and mental models of those that are likely to be implementing it. And if they're not, I'm quite certain that these interventions are likely to not sustain themselves or are likely to get altered in a direction that may not always serve the causes that we set out to. Second, I think not having a values sort of framework might also mean we sometimes overlook some very critical dimensions in the work that we do, simply because we don't have that reference point. And in my own example, I think I've overlooked the importance of really agency of people over the data that is produced on them and how that gets shared as we think about strengthening systems for public service authorities. So I think the data values movement is a really, really powerful starting point and focuses on the right thing, on values. But we also all know that building core values is very difficult. So this is going to require the creative energies and consistent collective action and effort from everyone here so that there will be a day where these values are almost as instinctive as freedom of speech, for instance, and help drive us towards a more just and equitable world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deepa, for taking us through what is important, reminding us about the need for focusing on values. We can talk about policy and talk about legislation, but we need to also center values as part of something that is critical in the bigger picture. So you mentioned as well how it is a really powerful thing to do, to actually take values and put them there as critical to be able to drive change, and also how it is important for that positive energy towards creating, shared values themselves, because we can talk about values, but we need to be able to collaborate to actually formulate those values. So thank you so much for highlighting that, Deepa. And yeah, thanks so much for those great insights. So we were expecting to hear someone else speaking as well from the Ghana Statistical Service, but they are not with us today. But without further ado, I think we'll proceed as well to hear about the Data Values Project manifesto itself. I think Deepa just highlighted as well about the Data Values Manifesto, and I think we're at that point where we can unpack more details about that specific manifesto. So to help us do that today is Purity Musatila, a youth advocate, as well as Karen Brett from the Global Partnership. So welcome. I'll hand over to you to take us away and take us through.
Thank you so much, Tobekile, for introducing us. It's a great pleasure to be with you all to celebrate the progress that we've made as the data on the Data Values Project and as part of the Data Values team. And obviously looking forward so much to creating more impact together. As Tobekile mentioned, I'll be running this next session with Purity, and I'm really excited to be doing this with Purity. I've been part of the Data Values Project from the beginning, so part of the policy team. And really the Data Values Project has been a global movement and remains a global movement where we spark dialogue around a fair data future for all. This consultation has been running since April 2021. And throughout the process, we've interacted with over 350 people across 63 countries. And we now have a shared vision and manifesto. But of course, the hard work begins now. And making that vision a reality requires all of us to work together. I'll now hand over to Purity to say a little bit more about her role in the global, in the Data Values Project.
Thank you so much, Karen. I am really honored to be part of this wonderful session. So I'd like to start off with a quote that I find to be very interesting. And it's from the Data Values White Paper. It states, and I quote, "At the heart of the Data Values Project is a focus on centering the perspectives of people and communities who have been too often overlooked or harmed by established data practices and systems." End of quote. And really, data has impacted our lives, and it still does more each day, for better and for worse. But most people have no say, like I have highlighted in the quote, have no say in how data is collected, governed, or used. And data systems must help and empower people instead of harming and excluding them, right? We need urgent action to create a fair data future, and it goes to every one of us. I will take it back to you, Karen.
Thank you so much, Purity. As you say, we need a shared action, joint efforts. I'm now pleased to share with you all the manifesto, the Data Values Manifesto, and of course, starting with a new shared vision and 5 calls to action. What the manifesto does is it gives us that shared vision, that central call to action, which can guide all our efforts to shift practices, as well as being the backbone of the global campaign for others to act now. Next slide. So just in very quick summary, the vision really is trying to begin with the importance of information to help us solve the problems we face in society and to keep track of human progress. But we all agree with all the challenges that we experience as societies, ranging from climate change, the food insecurity, and pandemics. we are not using the best data available to tackle the worst problems. And there are many reasons for that, declining trust, inequality, exclusion, and so forth. And data needs to serve everyone. However, getting it right is a political and social endeavor, and as well as a technical one. So thinking of those three endeavors, really we need to build our data systems so that we can change the way we design, the way we collect, the way we fund and manage and use our data. So really the data values movement is calling for urgent action to create a fair data future for all. And we believe all stakeholders must act now to create that change. Next slide. And just looking at, what the vision means for us and personally for me, it's really going back to where we started or going back to the drawing board. And as Deepa mentioned in her remarks, really thinking about the work that we do, the people we interact with, the data that we interact with, and really thinking about to what extent are we thinking about values? Are we thinking about governing, about use in the data that we are part of? I'll now introduce the new manifestos, the 5 manifestos, and I'll hand over back to Purity to take us through the first 3 call to actions. I think we lost Purity there, but we'll just give her a few minutes to join. But maybe we could just go one slide back to the first, yes, to the first manifesto. So the first manifesto message is really supporting people to shape how they're represented in data so that people have a say. And Elizabeth mentioned this in her opening remarks, so that people have a say in data design and data collection that affects their lives, and ensure that people can share their experiences, their needs, their priorities as they define them, and have that captured in data. The second manifesto is around investing in public participation for accountability. So it goes beyond, it actually involves people being included in decisions related to data and use and reuse, because this is essential for holding our leaders accountable, but also protect people from harm and eventually improve their lives. The third manifesto touches on democratizing data skills for greater equality. So in order to ensure that people everywhere have confidence, have the skills, have the literacy to use data, to engage with data, we need to build that confidence with people ranging from community members up to the top leadership. And I think this for sure is a great building block of a fair data future. The fourth manifesto message is around creating cultures of transparency, data sharing, and use. And in this manifesto, we're really encouraging leaders to invest in strengthening the cultures of data use and reuse, and that repeated positive experience so that we can further regulate, further share, further use data for public good is what builds trust. So continuous positive encouragement is going to really contribute to creating that culture and build the trust. Last but not least is the fifth manifesto message, and this one is encouraging donors and governments to fund open and responsive data systems so that all people share in the benefits of data. I know this is self-explanatory, but really putting more and better resources to data systems so that they can support action, promote participation and inclusion from start to finish. So funding initiatives or funding systems that are actually thinking or considering values at the heart is what should be prioritized. Next slide. And just, we've captured experiences from different stakeholders who were part of the Data Values Project. And I know we'll share this link really on the chat, but it's been really exciting to be capturing experiences of people out there. We call them data values voices. Gwen Phillips from Canada, Eric Ndawula from Uganda, and Natalie Grover from the Data Pop Alliance. And really, at the heart of the data values campaign is the voices of these individuals I've mentioned, but also your voices, your experiences, because it's critical that we understand data is not just about numbers, it's about people. And we will have a bigger focus throughout the campaign of supporting people to tell their stories and reflect on their relationships with data. And this week, we're publishing the first of these stories, as I mentioned, from Gwen, Eric, and Natalie. And they will just they've shared the experiences of what data values means to them in that context, in the communities that they live in. I think I see Purity is back on. So I just want to check, Purity, if you are, you're there, and maybe you can have the final closing remarks as we sort of come to the end of this session.
Hi, Karen. Can you hear me? Good? Okay, perfect. I apologize for that. So what we need now is your voices, your experiences, and energy to create change that puts values at the heart of data systems. We need everyone. The Data Values campaign is for everyone who believes in a fairer data future, and I believe we all do. And so the Global Partnerships team are here to support you and I to bring our ideas to life. And we so just can't wait to see what you do and the impact that we'll make together. And before I just finish up and conclude, another interesting quote, and it's from the white paper, right? And it states, and I quote, data can either challenge or reinforce unequal power relationships in society, manifested in the way data renders people and groups visible or invisible to decision makers. And yes, this project is challenging every one of us as young people, as stakeholders, and as policy makers to advocate and implement a fairer data future. And it begins right here. It begins with you and I. So join us and let's leave no one behind. Thank you. I will pass it to Tobekile.
Thank you so much for taking us through the data values campaign, as well as highlighting, the key nuggets in the data values manifesto. And it's an urgent call for everyone, and no one is left behind, to be able to, promote a fair, fair data systems rather. And I love that this call is all encompassing. When we started off with Dr. Lockwood, we did speak to inclusion to ensure that no one is left behind. And we also spoke of values, and, both of you, you managed to actually, also tie in, what was mentioned by the first two speakers. So definitely, this is a campaign to jump on board, and definitely looking forward as well to see what we do together and what we do in our different spaces as well to move the campaign forward. So thank you so much for those great insights. And I will open it up now, to the floor, so that we're able to hear what others think and, reflect on, what others are doing, and just putting in a reminder to, to keep these contributions short and sweet. So, yeah, I did see some raised hands, and there are some questions in the Q&A. So, if any of our speakers would like to then at some point respond, please have a look at the Q&A. But for now, before I pivot to the Q&A section, I'll start with the attendees who have raised their hands. I think these hands have been raised for a while. So I will start with Michelle. Over to you, Michelle. Perhaps we've lost Michelle at this point. Rubako, are you able to unmute yourself and say a few things? Is the technical team able to assist if someone is unable to unmute themselves? So that we can have those comments. Maybe I'll revert back to you, Michelle and Ruvako, and just read something that is in the Q&A. There are about 2 comments in there. The first one says, how may data be more valuable within the community? And the next question says, I am Idoko Raymond from Abuja, Nigeria. I want to thank the organizers for this opportunity. Data collection is a very serious and significant strategy to growth in nations. My question, though, is, are young people or young persons involved in data value collection? I think young persons need to be involved directly if they are not. So yes, I think perhaps Purity, if you are online, you can also comment and respond to this one if young persons are involved in data collection or whatever your experience has been, maybe perhaps would be able to also shed more light on this and how data may be more valuable in the community. Karen, if you don't mind responding to that. Over to you, Purity.
Hi, Tobakile. Can you please just repeat the question? I was off for a bit.
All right, so the question is, are young people involved in data value collection? And what do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, so I personally have a weird experience in the way that our organizations that are currently running in Zambia and the government itself in how they collect data from young people or how young people are involved. To be particular, we had the census that just ended. Let me use this example that just ended, and before that, I expected, and many others expected, that the government would perhaps come in with enumerators before rolling out the census, would come in and ask questions on how we feel as young people to be represented in that census and the data collection and how the data is going to be used after. But no, that's something that we did not see. And many other times, not just on this project, but also on many other projects, I have never really seen young people being involved, especially on an important topic like data and data value. Yeah, so for me, I haven't really seen young people be engaged, and really that's something I would want to see. And I think that's how come I am here, right? So yeah, thank you, Tobakile. I hope I have responded.
Thank you so much. It's good for us to, ensure that we also raise awareness and, spotlight the need for young people to be involved in these processes. In fact, for everyone, this is why I love the data values, manifesto, because it leaves no one behind. It's all inclusive. Over to you, Karen.
Thanks, Tobakile. I'll just be brief. I think the question on how can we involve communities more, it's really a question to data producers, but also to consumers. I think it's seeing communities, seeing people as more than just data respondents, the people who sit in front of you and you ask them questions when you're administering a questionnaire. Let's think of people beyond the subjects, people who just respond to our questions. We need to think of community citizens as people who we can actually design those questions together with. So, who determines the questions we ask communities? How can we involve communities in determining those questions? In the collection of the data, communities, and we have lots of examples that actually demonstrate that communities enjoy collecting data because especially on issues that matter to them, they will happily and even voluntarily collect that information because it matters to them. It's important to see communities as people you can dialogue with in defining solutions. So what the data tells us, let's discuss as a community, what does it mean to us? What should be the solutions? Let's take this information to policymakers for action. So it's really looking at data producers in government, beyond government, the international organizations, and saying, how do we involve the communities we serve in the process of data production and use. As communities, and I think civil society, community-based organizations are really key to championing this, is allowing or enabling citizens and communities to see that actually there's a role that they can play, and they have a very valuable role in data beyond just being data subjects or respondents, as you may. Thanks.
Thank you so much for highlighting the importance of, consultations and making sure everyone is included. I think Dr. Lockwood as well highlighted briefly on this as well, the importance of including all groups, everyone, so that, everyone as well is able to benefit from the use of data and be able to meaningfully find the value of data systems and data collection processes. So thank you so much. And I see there's another question which says, who will analyze the global data on what is the status of the SDGs? I don't know, if Dorothy, you'd like to make comments maybe on this question or any other input around the data values campaign itself at this point.
Yes, hello.
Thank you.
Hello.
We can hear you. You can go ahead.
Yes, this is Dorothy Nakato from Uganda. I'm a woman with psychosocial disabilities. And I'm very, very so happy to be part of this campaign. I would like, as for me as a person with psychosocial disabilities, I really say that this is a very good campaign for data. Like, as persons with disabilities, many a times we become like recipients, as the former speaker says, like a subject, and like we are just receiving. So it would be very good that we participate in the design of the data collection tools and also in the data collection exercises. Because many times, like I would give an example in Uganda that if we are not involved, people may not know how to administer the data tools to persons with disabilities. Take, for instance, persons with psychosocial disabilities, that even before the Washington tool of questions have been used, persons with disabilities have been left out, and the numbers were very low because the tools were not inclusive enough to capture key elements of persons with disabilities, more especially persons with psychosocial disabilities. So when this data is collected and we are part of the collection, the design, and the implementation, and even evaluation of the tools, it will be included, and there will be a lot of learning from each other, from government, from us as persons with disabilities, and more so, for me, I'm so much for the persons in the rural areas. People with disabilities in the rural areas are mainly left out in the data collection. The fact that at times they are not reached, or at times like they are neglected, just like there are no people who are like coming up to say, yes, can we go and collect? Can we also cause persons from the rural areas, especially persons with disabilities, to participate in the data collection due to a lot of intersecting forms of discrimination that persons in the rural areas, more so women and more persons with disabilities. So to me, we cannot realize the SDGs by 2030 if we are not yet inclusive of also persons with disabilities And if we are not counted, then we are not planned for, and we are always left out. So this, I'm so happy to be part of this, and I really want to go on with this campaign. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I think it is very critical that we ensure that those in underserved communities, marginalized groups, they are not left behind. So that is very important. So thank you, Dorothy, for that reflection. And Ruvako, I don't know if you are now ready to share or to ask something before we proceed. All right, I see one hand, I see two hands, but from my end, I am actually struggling to see whose hand is up. So I think, Hussam, you can take it away. I believe, so go for it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I am Hussam from Islamic Relief Worldwide Palestine office. I'm talking from Gaza. So hello everyone from Gaza. To talk quickly about the overarching endeavor of do no harm and leave no one behind. We at Islamic Relief, I would like to talk quickly about our experience in transforming the do no harm and leave no one behind principles and the theories into reality and into practices. So we do focus our learning and meal activities on deriving and on researching information about these two thematic areas of protection and inclusion. We do actually believe that we will not avoid doing harm or reaching to zero exclusion without data. Our experience when we refer to official data, when we refer to the data available at cluster level or at official institution level, we did find very numerical and very rigid, abstractive kind of data that need to be complemented with another dimension like accessibility, needs and requirements, protection risks. All of these data are not available, so we need to complement this form of qualitative data. We need to complement them. As our experience, we do engage the representing organization, the community-driven organization, in reflecting these data relating to people with disability, relating to older people, relating to women, relating to child. So we do try, but we face lots of challenges. If we talk about this, we need lots of time about when we talk about the capacity, the replacement, and the competition about the role of data provision when community-driven organization hear about supporting initiatives like data collection and data provision. All of them would be representing the people with disability. So the role amongst the organization who mandated to represent and the service providers, civil society organization would have a sort of competition on who will represent them. I think still we need to gradually establishing the movement through which we can collect a realistic data, support data providers on providing a realistic data and trying to convince and trying to reach to the mutual benefit amongst the user and the provider of data, so that the data provision would sustain. One of the most important challenges is how could we maintain the sustainability of providing this type of data. I think the manifesto would give a great solution to press and to stress on having this segment of persons from at-risk groups well represented and empowered to have a say in whether in the data collection process from the design until the provision, and to empower the role of them.
All right. Thank you so much, Issam. You're mentioning representation. Everyone must be represented. No one should be left behind. That is critical in this conversation.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing those great insights as well. I will ask for your indulgence so that we kind of move on a little bit, but we'll have another time and another session to actually take in more contributions. But for now, allow me to call Kate Richards to take us through the next session, and I'm sure she'll also be able to address some of the questions that were left hanging. And I see some comments as well in the chat box, and some sharing as well of some resources. So thank you so much. And Kate Richards is the advocacy manager at Global Partnerships. So she'll be taking us through some ideas for how we can all add our voices to the Data Values campaign. So over to you, Kate Richards, take us away.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining. It's great to have you all with us, and I'm so excited that there's so many people interested in joining this campaign and wanting to know how. So hopefully I can give you some insights and give you some suggestions there. If we go to the next slide, please. So the campaign, as we've said, as much as the Data Values Project overall is really about having everyone be able to be involved, everyone's voice is being heard. And so we have some principles that kind of drive the way that we want, we will engage with the campaign, and how we would love everyone else to also kind of engage more broadly. And so really that is recognizing that everyone has a role to play, everyone can be a data advocate, everyone can be a data advocate, activist, that we all want to work together to achieve this goal, and that there's lots of opportunities to bring together people who might not usually collaborate to create a bit bigger impact together. We recognize the importance of taking this very big global manifesto that's very broad, to think about how do we localize this in specific communities for different population groups, for different countries and regions. And so we really encourage you to think of this manifesto as a starting point, to think about what bits resonate with you, what bits you have questions about, how you think others in your community or in your national setting might react to this, and to really feel free to kind of tailor it and make it your own, and think about what it means for your own work and how you achieve these goals. We really have this effort to kind of amplify and to work together to create these opportunities for people who might not usually be able to be at the forefront of global campaigns. And so we encourage you to all think about how maybe you connect with others, how you share the platforms that you might have with those that otherwise wouldn't be able to access that. And so really sharing all of our efforts together. And the last thing is that this is new. It's new to us, it's new to you. So we're all learning together. We all want to make progress on this agenda, but we know that there's going to be some successes and then some things that we maybe don't get right on the first go, and that we have to learn from and change and evolve. And so we very much welcome any feedback or ideas. We'll always take your suggestions on board, but also for you all to come with that mindset of how do we maybe learn or relearn some of the things that we did think we knew? How do we advocate together and see what works? So those things are at the heart of this campaign, and I thought useful to share at the start. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, as was mentioned, on the 22nd, we're going to be launching this global campaign. And so this campaign is really to increase awareness of this topic, to ensure that more people understand how this Data Values Manifesto affects their lives, affects their work, and encourage people to feel like they can take action, either by advocating for others to take action, by increasing others' awareness on this topic, or by rethinking how they actually engage with data, rethinking how you practice data collection or data use, how you can bring that more to the forefront of your efforts, whether that's, you know, working in a national statistical office, or whether that's working within your community to understand what their needs are and how we create change there. So on this Thursday, we're going to have a launch of the social media campaign, and so there's really exciting ways for you to get involved here. The first one is that you're able, if you have a social media channel, if you have, you know, WhatsApp groups, or if you have other ways of communicating that you'd like to share this manifesto with more people, you can do that. And we encourage you to use the social media pack that I can put the link in the chat when I'm done. There's some great content there, some really creative ways of sharing the message and connecting with more people. So we encourage you to make that your own. The second one, oh, sorry. We go back, thank you. The second one is around, we encourage every organization or every person to think about, is there one thing that you could do coming out of this manifesto? So what's the one idea you have about creating change? Is that we're going to tweak our training program, or we're going to have an internal discussion about how maybe this agenda resonates with our own practices? Or maybe we had some examples of, you know, young people wanting to do a activation on the street where they actually had some materials, they were able to talk to people that came up to them, and were able to talk about what this means to everyday people, you know, in their setting. The last one is, this is obviously the start of the campaign, and so there's going to be a lot more opportunities for you all to engage. So I'd really recommend you sign up to our campaign list, and then you'll always get the first information about any opportunities, any ways to engage. It's going to be a really important way of us all building this community. So I'd encourage you to join us there. We'll go to the next slide, please. So we've created this toolkit that's online, and this suggests all these different ways that you can engage in the campaign. So it could be social media, it could be if you want to host a workshop in your own area, it could be about that kind of internal organizational review, or it could be about trying to actually set up meetings with your officials in your country or in your locality. So we really understand that there's a lot of different people involved in this campaign. And so we want to provide a range of options. And it's very much for you to think about, what are the small things that we could do to begin with to engage? And I and my colleagues at the Global Partnership are here to support you in that, to help you think through those options and to really work together to create this change. So we can link to that toolkit as well, but there's lots of, exciting suggestions and tools there. Yeah, Martin, if we go to the next one, please. And then the Advocates Program, which I know people have mentioned a lot before already, but this is a really exciting new program that we've just launched. And I'm so thrilled that we've got, some really great applications. I think when I looked last, we had over 25 countries represented in the applications. And it's been a huge amount of interest. So this program is about providing support for those people who work more at the grassroots, more at the community-based organizations, those people who aren't attached to, a very big organization that can already engage well in this process. And so it's about creating the space for you all to have kind of a funded and a supported program that enables you to really get into this. And it means that we will be able to work very closely with this group of advocates for them to be at the forefront of shaping events, communications. They can take forward some specific advocacy activities. It's really about bringing all of our ideas together and working together. So there'll be 6 people in the initial cohort. We know there's been a lot of interest in this already, and so we do hope to be able to expand that cohort in the longer term. And in the short term, even those people that apply that don't make it into the final cohort of those 6 people, we'll definitely have lots of opportunities for you to be able to engage, for you to be able to come in and shape these activities, shape the campaign. So I definitely recommend you apply. The process is that there's a short application form online. It's really just, it should only take no longer than half an hour to fill out some key details. The one thing that's important for me to share is that there's 2 questions that are a little bit more, ask you for a longer answer. So one is around a time when you've seen data used to create positive or negative impacts. And the other one is thinking about, is there a time when you've been represented in data or not represented, and what that impact has meant for you or your community. So I definitely would recommend, if you're going to apply, that you make sure you fill out one of those long questions, because that's really the important bit for us to understand why you're interested in this program. So there's a lot of information online, and I'll put the application pack in the chat, and I'm seeing some of my colleagues are helping me out there, thank you. But it really is an opportunity for you all to come in and shape this program and to be supported to do that. The program is based virtually, and so you don't have to be any one location. There will be one moment in the year when we all come together, when we all travel to be together and join a big event, but otherwise you'll be joining from where you are located through your laptop or through your phone. The only criteria is that you are comfortable speaking or interacting in English. And then if you need any accessibility support, that's all available. So if you are a person with disabilities, or you need other levels of support in terms of a sign interpreter or anything along that line, we can definitely support you there. So we really encourage you to apply. I saw a question in the chat, which I can just answer live quickly, which was about, will there be an interview? So the next phase is that once you've completed your application form, we can, we'll review them, and then we'll ask you to make a short video and also get in touch with that person that you've listed on your application form as your reference. And then after that process, there will be a short interview, but it will be a short one-to-one interview. And that will likely take place, towards the end of October. But we'll definitely be in touch to give you more information as the process progresses. Perfect. So if we go to the next slide. I also want to emphasize that this is, one opportunity amongst many. And so there will be lots of other campaign opportunities. So one thing is connecting, all the great ideas that will come from the community with more creative partnerships. So designers or illustrators that can help bring those ideas to life. And then we'll obviously help to promote them across all of the partners in the campaign. In 2023, we'll have some grassroots budget available. So it'll be a process where smaller organizations can access some funding support to be able to do this advocacy, whether that's, maybe host a workshop or host a dialogue at national level. There's some different opportunities there, and we'll share more information on that mailing list when that comes available. And then, as I said, we're really here, the Global Partnership, to provide strategic and coordination support. So we'll be helping to foster this community and bringing you all together to learn. But if you ever need, if you have ideas that you want to take forward, you can always get in touch with us and we can think about how we support you there. So next slide. Thank you. And then another thing I always wanted to emphasize is that whilst we have this global campaign that's obviously focused more on advocacy and communications and how we get people to care and to want to act on the data values agenda, we'll also have a parallel work stream where we think much more about the practical side, like how do we provide practical guidance? How do we work with all of you to produce that? How do we think about having training materials or knowledge materials that enable people to, once they care and once they want to act, to put this into practice? So there's going to be a lot of work going on in that approach as well as the advocacy. So again, feel free, please, to get in touch if you would like to be involved in some of that work. I think next slide, please. Perfect. And then this is the end of my comments. I can see lots of things in the chat, which I'll look at in a second. But we really wanted just to encourage you to make the data values movement your own. We have come a really long way from when we started this project, and we're really excited for what will come next, for what happens when all of you bring your ideas, your energy, your different experiences and perspectives to this project. And so the campaign is, as I said, one for everyone and one for all of us that want to create change. And so please do, check out the materials. Please do join us on Thursday as we launch this. We hope, to reach all of you and to reach all of your communities on Thursday and beyond. And so thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kate, for taking us through how we can engage, how we can join and jump on board. I'm super excited about this campaign, and I really feel the energy. I can see in the chat box a lot of excitement going on there, so definitely it's on. And now I will open up again the floor to hear more contributions, and we do not have much time left, so I will again ask for sweet and short comments, and we'll start with Teacher. If Teacher Chisaka, would you give us your thoughts or your comments before we then call on Claudia to be able to also do the same, and then we'll see how much time we have left at that point. So over to you, Teacher.
Hi, thank you so much. I hope you can hear me okay. Yes, so thanks for inviting me to say a few words on this critical issue of data values. It's a pleasure to be here, and congratulations to everyone who's been involved in helping to shape and design this campaign. It's been very inspiring to hear the rich insights and perspectives from all the other speakers today on what data values means to them, and to see the energy and momentum behind this. So I'm speaking on behalf of Sightsavers. So at Sightsavers, we're all about promoting equity and inclusion is at the heart of what we do as an organization across our work in education, health, advocacy for disability rights. And we have been working to strengthen the collection of disability inclusive data in our work for a number of years across our country programs to drive better decision making and more inclusive and equitable outcomes for persons with disabilities. Sightsavers is very happy to be part of this community today, and we support this work to explore the values that should inform data collection, analysis, and use, and also the value that data brings. And I think this data values campaign compels us to take a more values-based, more principled approach to our data practice. And these are all very big, challenging issues that require collective effort, partnerships, and collaboration to address them. So in terms of our initial commitments to this campaign, Sightsavers has committed to supporting the Data Values Advocates Program, which Kate has highlighted, as we see it as being critical to ensuring that this campaign creates a space and support for grassroots and community activists to be leading voices in this work on data values. We will be actively promoting and amplifying this campaign in our social media channels and other online platforms as it launches this week, as well as in the coming weeks and months as the campaign starts to implement. We see the data values as fitting very well with the Inclusive Data Charter that Sightsavers helped to launch back in 2018 alongside the Global Partnership and others, in that the Inclusive Data Charter was about broadening the support for and political commitment to data collection as a core part of the SDGs. Now, this work on data values can help engage and build support from other stakeholder groups and to further broaden that commitment so that data is not just seen as a way to monitor or report on change, but that its collection, analysis, and use is a fundamental part of that societal change process. And we are currently updating our Sightsavers Inclusive Data Charter Action Plan, and we commit to taking steps to look at how we can integrate the data values calls to action as part of that work, alongside looking at how we incorporate data values in our broader ongoing conversation on data and inclusion with our partners. So the Data Values campaign is a call for all of us to actively think about the change we want to see and to challenge ourselves to go further. So thank you to the Global Partnership and others who have come together to start this conversation, and we look forward to collaborating and learning from partners in the data for development community and beyond to implement this important, timely campaign. And we call on others to join the campaign and commit to the Data Values Manifesto actions so that we can all collectively work towards using data to create fairer, more equitable outcomes that benefit all. So thank you, and back to you.
Thank you so much, Teacher Farah, for just unpacking, you know, what is being done and the support from Sightsavers, and you know, for that call as well to others to jump on board this campaign, and for your commitment to this. So it is most appreciated and very exciting, and definitely. I will say for a fact that I did mention earlier that we work for Paradigm Initiative, and I think it's a perfect moment for me to also proclaim that as well as Paradigm Initiative as well. We are super excited about this campaign, and we are on board and ready to promote it and support it as best as we can, and also to do our fair part in ensuring that we also contribute to the creation of fair data systems. So thank you so much, teacher. And over to you, Claudia Wells from Development Initiatives, to also share your own, you know, highlights and your remarks as well on this.
Thank you so much, and absolutely congratulations to the Global Partnership and everyone involved for this fantastic launch of a campaign. I'm so excited to be part of it. At Development Initiatives, we've always believed that achieving the ambitions that were set out in the SDGs required a fundamental shift, a different mindset, new ways of working, new ways of measuring, new ways of monitoring. And I really see this culmination of action that is coming from the data values work, really the beginning of that shift in changing those norms, both at a global level and at a national level. And I couldn't be more delighted to be supporting this campaign and have been involved in it from the start. I mean, over time, our approaches and thinking have evolved, but at the heart, our foundational principle has always been people. And while we're a data organization, our passion for data is driven by our commitment to making people's lives better and the power that data has to facilitate that. We launched our new strategy last year, and people is at the absolute heart of it. And fundamentally, what we're shifting is the way that we're monitoring the impact of the work that we do. We're putting data to use for the good of people, but importantly, the change that it brings must be rooted in responding to their needs, and their needs as defined by them. And that's why I was delighted to co-lead a track of the project that would eventually become a key theme for this dialogue, and that's agency in data. It's not just disaggregating data, which is really, really very important, but it's about inclusion across the data value chain. And it's something that we've really embraced. And just reflecting on some of what the other speakers have said, it's a really important learning process. Over the past year, as an organization, we haven't got everything right, but we've learned so much about how to better engage with communities and reduce the burden on them, but ensure that our processes are inclusive. And we're really supporting all of the 5 data values action areas in our future work, in particular, supporting people to engage in processes, to invest in public participation for accountability, and to really think about how we democratize those data skills. And in particular, we're looking to further roll out some training we've been doing on the data lifecycle that's specifically targeted at organizations representing those communities who are most at risk of exclusion, are the least resilient, thinking about how we build their confidence to engage and use data, work directly with the communities based on what their needs are, and to build their skills from where they are at the moment and how they want to shape the processes. We're also looking at about creating cultures of transparency, data sharing and use. It's really important to remember that open data doesn't necessarily mean it's free. If you haven't got the skills and the infrastructure and the finance to access that data, then it can still be exclusionary. And we're long-standing champions of transparency and open data, which is going to remain a really core theme of our work. And in particular, helping others to harness the power of data to improve people's lives, in particular at that local level, thinking about data use at the point of service delivery, which will really drive data quality. But I think action area 5, which is all around funding open and responsive data systems so that all people share in the benefits of data, is absolutely central to all of our work. Our work on the role of international actors and their approaches to investment in national data ecosystems is just one example that champions the need for greater accountability between international processes, systems and structures and the actors at country level. And rest assured, there will be more of this challenge coming into the international dialogue and the international space coming from DI as we support our partners to ensure that investments in data systems support action and promote participation and inclusion right from the start all the way to the end and to the finish. Thank you very much. Congratulations to all who've been involved in this project. And we really, really do look forward to supporting this campaign as it grows and evolves over time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claudia, for that. Very, very critical for us to reflect on that. And as we close off, we just have 1 more minute to the end of this meeting. So allow me to say, reflect in the chat box and see what the others are saying. There are lots of interesting comments there. Also see the links that have been shared in there, the emails that have been shared in there. If there's anyone you'd like to connect with, you're not alone. This is a big campaign and a lot of partners who are driving this. So feel free to just have a look there. And at this point, I have to say thank you everyone for such rich engagements, for such rich inputs, such great support for the campaign itself, such great contributions. So you are most appreciated, and thanks as well to you know, everyone who has ensured that we have a good meeting today. Our interpretation expert who has been assisting us with sign language. You're most appreciated, and everyone else from the back end. So yeah, you are well appreciated. There's so much energy for this campaign, and definitely I feel like we've already sort of like done a pre-launch of what's coming ahead, and we are all on fire for this. So we are super, super excited. I'm also keen on seeing how, you know, this movement grows, you know, in the coming months and possibly in the coming years as well. So let's keep up the excitement and be able to share with others and continue to do what we do best. Also do sign up to receive updates on the campaign and be able to join us as well in calling action this Thursday on social media. I believe Kate has already highlighted that. So the global partnership team are here to support you, to support all of us in this campaign. So please do, once you sign on, check your emails. There will always be constant, you know, emails or heads up from the team there. So we do appreciate the global partnerships team. And finally, as we close off and as this meeting ends, let me say that let us continue to reflect going forward, firstly, on the call for all of us, you know, to engage. Secondly, to also reflect on the need for inclusion, and also thirdly, to also, reflect on centering values in the process of creating a fair data future. Let us join the campaign and let us be the campaign. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. And I think we'll call it a day and we'll catch up again. I think let's meet as we drive the campaign on Thursday. So thank you so much.